Call of Duty games are always highly debated on whether they're good or bad within the community, and a lot of those debates surround multiplayer. Most people think COD is a game about weapons, but I think the biggest thing that makes Call of Duty multiplayer good or bad is their maps, because that's where your experience playing the game will always be. You can't change the maps like you could change your weapons, perks, or kill streaks, and there have been many great maps, but there's also been a lot of bad ones. And that's what we will be looking at today, the worst base map from every Call of Duty multiplayer from COD 4 to Modern Warfare 2022. Time to bring back the memories of maps you just want to forget. COD 4 Block. It's the worst of the 16 launch maps. This one was only enjoyable for campers with all the dimly lit spots you could place a claymore, buy, and chill with an M16 or sniper. And kill streaks with the airstrike and helicopter were bad with all the buildings and cover, so even if you got a 5 or 7 kill streak, you weren't really rewarded. And the B-flag placement for domination is awful. All this led to was slow and drawn out matches. World at War, Downfall. It isn't the worst map in this video, but it is the worst in World at War, and this one was one of the largest maps in Call of Duty history. And while being big doesn't necessarily make a map bad, it does in this case. This was just one giant square to drive tanks around on. There were no lanes or any flow to it. However, this map played 10 times better on ground war, with the extra 6 players in the match making the size not as big of an issue. The whole match was about who could have the central bunker, which was one of its redeeming qualities because at least people were drawn to a section of the map, but you still needed different lanes to get there. It was too slow to consistently be fun. Modern Warfare 2 Underpass. It was very close with the rail, but this was a big rainy map, which was actually cool and gave it an ambiance that many new Call of Duty maps do not have. I know this is supposed to be the worst and not the best, so let me get into the reasons why this map isn't good. It was campy because it's designed in and pushed combat into one area. I swear there was camp spots all over the map that people wouldn't move away from. Maps need choke points where the combat goes, and this map either had too many or none. I couldn't tell because there was about 4 or 5 spots that people just chilled at, and I just didn't like it. I don't know what else to say. Black Ops 1 Crisis. This is the only base map I didn't enjoy from Black Ops 1, which is wild to think about when there was 14 of them. Yep, this is when COD games actually came out with a bunch of content instead of 80 original maps and 2 remakes at launch. And on top of this, Crisis is better than every single base map from Modern Warfare 2019. Now, I don't have much to say about this map being bad because it actually wasn't awful. It was just a little bit too big because it added unnecessary spaces. If they just removed the giant beach, the map would have played so much faster. In party modes like Gun Game and Sticks and Stones, they actually blocked off part of the map to make it play much quicker, and this was still a decent map in objective game modes. If you would like me to make another video on the best map from every Call of Duty game, please make sure to leave a like and comment to let me know. And make sure to subscribe for more Call of Duty rankings as well as helpful Warzone content. Back into the list, Modern Warfare 3 Downturn. I almost went with Interchange, but then I remembered good old Downturn. This map was just a pile of rubble and crap. There's an underground area, a few broken down buildings, and a crap ton of busted cars. It wasn't extremely big, it was a mid-sized map, and it wasn't even super slow paced. It just was really ugly looking and foreshadowed every map we were gonna get in Modern Warfare 2019. Black Ops 2 Aftermath. This is another busted city like Downturn, but this one was set in Los Angeles. The problems with this map was that the map was dark and dull, with some unnecessary building screening, extra camping spots, and slowing down the flow of the map. We had the parking garage and the bus that were on the same side that people would just sit in and hold the lanes, which made the map unbalanced with 2 power camp spots on one side. And as you can probably tell, I'm not a fan of slow pace and campy maps. Call of Duty is an arcade shooter after all, and it isn't supposed to be realistic. Call of Duty Ghosts Chasm. I thought about putting Stonehaven here because it is probably universally thought of as the worst ghost map, but it actually was pretty to look at and actually didn't play horribly in sections. It was just too big but not poorly designed. Whereas Chasm is ugly to look at, just as big, and didn't play well anywhere on the map. And for those reasons, it's far worse than Stonehaven. And just a fun fact, this is basically Aftermath 2.0, but bigger because it's supposed to be a broken Los Angeles again. The COD devs just don't learn from their previous mistakes. Advanced Warfare Defender. This map did not play as good as it looked. This was the first game with jetpacks, so they tried to make every map make use of this advanced movement, but it created some inconsistencies with the flow from map to map. So I don't completely blame them for having some misses, and this is just one that had a giant tsunami partway through every match that would wipe out all players on the beach, which didn't really affect the game much overall. It was just kind of a gimmick. I like what they tried to do here, but it just didn't play out well as a multiplayer map. Black Ops 3 Metro. I almost put Exodus because of how buggy the map was for the first 4 months of Black Ops 3, but Metro easily played worse. They were going for Express 2.0, but it wasn't executed nearly as well. Express got away with the train running through the middle of the map because of its layout being way more dynamic, and the match wouldn't come to a complete standstill when the train came by, but that's exactly what happens with Metro. You just gotta sit there and stare at it zooming by. Infinite Warfare Retaliation. A portion of the community gave this map the nickname of Stonehaven 2.0 because of its massive size and being made by Infinity Ward as well. The main problem with Retaliation is that it was difficult to retaliate on this map. If you died, you would have to run 10 miles in open space to try and get back to the action, and you would easily get picked off again before making it, creating a rinse and repeat cycle after you go down once. It is disrespectful to call this map Stonehaven because it is so much worse. Call of Duty World War II. Carentan. It was a pre-order map, and I'm not sure if this counts as a base map, but I want to illustrate an issue that Call of Duty has today with it. And of course, Gustav Cannon was the runner-up. This map was remade from Call of Duty 2, something we're seeing more and more for multiplayer, remade maps. They started doing this with fan favorites and the community loved it, so they kept on remaking maps again and again. But now they're just getting lazy and they don't want to create new original maps. As COD games used to launch with 14 to 16 base maps, and now they only launch with about 10, and usually 1 to 2 of them are remakes. And Carentan wasn't even good back in Call of Duty 2. Why would they think it would be good now? Just because you can remake a map doesn't mean you should. Black Ops 4 Arsenal Sandstorm. Now I know for a fact this one is technically cheating because Arsenal is the base map and adding a Sandstorm was DLC. Yep, that's what they consider to be DLC these days. Why is it bad? It's pretty self-explanatory. You couldn't see shit. And that makes for an experience so bad that the developers actually removed it from the game because the community hated it so much. Yeah, that's the only map on this list that actually got removed for being bad. But hey, at least Treyarch developers listened to the community's feedback and did something about it, unlike Infinity Ward's developers these days. Modern Warfare 2019 Euphrates Bridge. This game was nearly impossible to pick the worst map because if you couldn't tell by my comments throughout, I think Modern Warfare 2019 has the worst set of maps in Call of Duty history by a mile. They only have a couple decent base maps, with the rest being terrible. So what set Euphrates Bridge apart from the rest to make it stand out, you may be asking? This map is gigantic. It has no flow with people camping in the back houses on each side, and you might have a couple people camping on top of the bridge or underneath it. And to run from one spawn to the other takes half the match. Then they have the audacity to put this in the 6v6 playlist at the start of Modern Warfare 2019 when the map was clearly designed for 20v20. The only mode that these maps could even be semi-enjoyable in was Search and Destroy. Ugh, I hate these maps. Black Ops Cold War, Miami. I almost went with Garrison because I always played like trash on that map, but Miami is objectively worse. Also, I want to make it clear that I'm mainly looking at these maps from a 6v6 perspective because Miami actually played pretty well in 12v12 because it really helped the flow of it. And that's why Treyarch actually came out with Miami Strike later as a DLC where they turned it into daytime and cut off the hotel section of the map. But for some reason, they never removed Miami from the 6v6 section, and for that, it gets to be put as the worst base map in Cold War. Call of Duty Vanguard, Subpens. Vanguard is the most despised COD, and there are many reasons for that. And I didn't think the maps were actually its biggest issue, but Subpens, that is a horrible map, and if I saw it, I backed out. This has an awful design. It's way too open, and there is a high ground on one side that everyone tries to go to, but there's no cover from any side. So people from down low can beam you, or people running up on either side of you can get you with no problem. Then down low will get destroyed from high ground if people aren't constantly pushing towards it. There's no way to navigate this map well, and there's no way to have fun while playing it. It's just gross. Modern Warfare 2022. Santa Senya Border Crossing. I almost went with Dirac over it. I do think it has a worse design and is yet another remake from Call of Duty 1, but Dirac was amazing for long shots as I was going for a Rhine camo, so for that, I'm gonna give it the slight nod. And for Santa Senya Border Crossing, it is a great example just because it is a classic 3-lane map that helped make Call of Duty great, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a good map just because it has 3 lanes. At the start, all the cars are just gonna blow up from random grenades and ruin the first couple minutes of the match. Then after the explosions are done, it does improve a little bit, but then it turns into a campfest behind the exploded cars or head glitching on the trash cans on the side lanes, and on top of these issues, they spawn you so far away from the action for no reason. There are like these giant spawn sections on each side of the map that should just be cut off. All they do is slow the game down. Sandstorm time limit matches should be its new name. Do you guys agree with all my picks for worst map, or would you change some of them? Make sure to let me know in the comments, and if you like this video, you're gonna also love this Call of Duty video right here. Peace.